Welcome to the Empathy Avengers podcast, where we put empathy into action.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Empathy Avengers podcast. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by a lady, which is her nom de plume for her book, Donald Trump is My Frickin Guru. She's also a trauma clinician, and she writes on Substack, No Blood for Hubris. Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, A-Lady. We are so excited to have you join us. I've been really fascinated by your take on things on your Substack, especially. Now I'm going to have to read your book, which is available, and we'll link it in the show notes for this episode. But especially your Substack, No Blood for Hubris, really resonated with me because of your clinician, your neurology background. You have a really interesting take on what's been going on in this crazy country and the world we're living in right now. And so it resonated with me, and I was hoping that it would resonate with our listeners. So thank you for joining us today and helping share a little bit about how you're seeing things these days.
To me, the experience of being exposed to the miasmic toxicity that is Donnyism is the basic building block to mental health or misery. And even for myself, I wanted to find a way to approach it, and my reactions to what I view as an intentional, ongoing cascade of horrifying events that, in my view, are weapons that are aimed at our well-being in order to either drive us into autonomic dysregulation and hyperarousal, irritation, angry outbursts, which exhausts us from the energy of rage, or driving us into hypoarousal, numbing, avoidance, depression, stuff like that. So whether our reaction to these events is either too high or too low, it comes from our body perception of threat, which is an instinctive reaction that takes place in the amygdala, which is kind of like a smoke alarm for detecting danger. And in either case, whether it's inflaming us or depressing us, it acts before our rational thought and prefrontal lobes have a chance of kicking in. It unplugs us from our ability to have executive function working the way it should be. And when that experience is repeated day after day and horrible act after horrible act, which we endured for all of his first term, and it's really been accelerating in this term, that can really put us into a state of dorsal vagal collapse where we are in the predator's mouth and we're belly up and we're unable to do anything. That is the goal, I believe, of the Donnyist psy-op weapon of war. And it is up to us to, first of all, realize that this is what is happening, that we are in fact under siege. And it's not merely the actions themselves that are wrong and awful, but that they are being perpetrated in a way that makes us feel like we're constantly under threat and that it's an unstoppable cascade of crap. Not unlike Donny and his airplane swooping around pooping.
Steve Bannon told us years ago that they were going to create a fire hose of bullshit.
Absolutely. And that certainly was the motivation for my writing Donald Trump is My Frickin Guru, Deconstructing the Mirage of Despair, because there are ways to look at all of this stuff that can lead to understanding that indeed there's this toxic gas approaching us, and we need to get our gas masks on and retain our ability to take action and not to take stuff personally, but to receive that information carefully and to be motivated to not get sucked into that rabbit hole of doom.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in my life, I have people that have adopted all of the different responses that you mentioned, right? So there's some people who are completely apathetic and checked out and stopped watching the news and really are just going about their day. And I'm mad at them because I'm like, hello, aren't you seeing what's going on here? And they are white, privileged, so they're just, happy go lucky. And then there's other people over here that have taken it to the doom. They're just paralyzed, quite frankly, and they're not able to do anything and barely feed themselves and just do the normal things to stay alive. And that seems not good either. How do we get into the middle here and be able to not get so doom-like, but yet let these things bounce off of us and continue on in our fight?
I think the first thing is recognizing that we are under siege and recognizing that we are being deliberately provoked, and that for us to lose the ability to function will give them the submission that they are looking for. And I certainly don't want to give them that satisfaction.
Timothy Snyder tells us, do not comply in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend who said that she's like, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not even.
There.
Well,
Numbing and avoidance.
Oh.
PTSD symptom number 3. It's very body-based, it's very somatic, and perhaps because of that, it can be challenging for people to not take it in and not realize that the somatic response is part of the result of the weapon.
yeah, you talk about the dorsal vagal collapse. Can you help define that for our listeners and me? Because I want to elaborate on that a little bit.
We could go back to the predator. If you're a mouse in the jaws of a cat, your nervous system basically tells you to give up and get eaten. And that's the sense of hopelessness. There also can be prey in the mouth of a predator where if it's a certain kind of predator that doesn't like dead things, it may drop you. So it can be a saving response. But the powerlessness, the helplessness, hopelessness, and feeling permanently damaged, that's the road to complete collapse, submission, belly up, and you're gone. Something that we wish to not experience. And even what we experience as demi dorsal vagal collapse, that's something that needs to be worked with gently, and it takes time to recover and to return to a state where you can socially engage. The feelings that our response to these actions evokes is real, and it's not something that you can just snap out of because your intellectual self thinks you should snap out of it. It is a feeling of lethal threat, and it takes time to awaken from that kind of stupor. So being gentle with one's response and also coming to learn what really gets your goat, what really inflames you immediately and rockets you out of the window of tolerance. Child sex abuse, especially organized, that does it for me.
Yeah.
But interestingly, it doesn't seem to do it for absolutely everyone. And I don't know what's up with that.
And with just from the fallout of the Epstein files, we've seen only people outside of the United States get arrested. And we've only seen them get arrested for like financial crimes or espionage or something to that effect that's not related necessarily directly to the child sex abuse.
I mean, it's a brothel dedicated to child rape.
Yeah.
You would think that would be enough to inflame somebody, but inflaming in a good way.
I'm inflamed
Oh.
because of child sex abuse, but I don't have any power to do anything about it.
You have your podcast.
Okay,
Very
fair.
true.
Thank you.
Good point.
I mean, I don't mean to be horrible and snotty.
No,
No,
I
that was an
appreciate that.
excellent point. You think, though, that the MAGA cult and QAnon, which I got out of. I think they have made people numb to child trafficking by the Save the Children ops that we saw during like 2020. I saw my singles pastor get totally wrapped up in that. The church that I went to, the pastor was abusing a 12-year-old girl for 4 years, and he got 6 months. He is out now, and I think he went to Kenneth Copeland's area. But I really feel like that congregation, it's not a small congregation, but it's a small example of how they like cut off our empathy for things like child trafficking by implementing a psy-op like that.
Yeah. And you look at Hegseth's pastor, the notorious Doug Wilson, who really doesn't believe in rape, or if rape is a crime, it's a crime against property. Because in his writings and in his speaking engagements and what his flock are told is okay and not okay is females are to be available 24/7. There's no concept of no within marriage or without. And if it happens without, then it's failure of the owner to protect his property. You look at Hegseth, who I have been calling Roofie Rape Kit NDA Hegseth, because he attended some Republican convention and he obviously brought his equipment with him and spiked a woman's drink. She wound up waking up with a vague sense that something bad had happened to her, but she had enough presence of mind to go to the emergency room and ask that a rape kit be done. Emergency rooms don't do rape kits for nothing, and was interviewed and evidence taken, and it was sufficient that the ER sent the information to the cops, and after that, there was a non-disclosure agreement, and we don't know more than that. But the roofie, date rape drug that he would have had to have planned to have on him, there's intention, and completing the rape kit, submitting it. The only reason we don't know is that he has an NDA in place, which is something that I don't know. Can you get NDAs for murder, or is it just rape that you can non-disclose?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either
I didn't know about that. Wow.
that he's leading our military.
Totally shameful. What's been interesting is that I'm a little bit surprised that Kash Patel seems to be the one that is getting the flack for alcoholism and whatever. Before Keg's breath,
Oh, yeah.
I do think a lot of these guys view women as property.
Absolutely.
And they're actively working to take away women's vote. There you get the SAVE
Yes.
Act with head of household voting. And who's the head of household? The male. And it's a little bit backfiring because married women who have changed their names when they get married, they're getting screwed because they can't necessarily prove that they are who their birth certificate says.
Fortunately, the SAVE Act has not yet passed, and the
It's
Senate.
there.
It's there. Unfortunately, certain red states are doing their own state version of the SAVE Act. And so that's already happened in, I know, Utah and Kansas have.
But
Utah already sent a letter to their registered voters saying that in late May, all of your voting data is going to become public. It's crazy.
That's part of the outrageous acts that people can be having a conversation, including women shouldn't be permitted to vote. How did we get there?
Yeah, the Overton window has shifted quite a lot because of this psyop that we've been under for 10 years, really, but it's escalated.
And the misogyny is really rampant.
Yeah, there's the what is it, the manosphere,
Yeah.
and the bro people are now they're complaining that there's a male loneliness epidemic.
It makes me really want to cry.
We just learned about a fucking rape academy that had 62 million hits just in February. Jesus, I mean, the war on women is very real.
Yeah.
I think it actually was 62 million hits in January, and it went up to 84 million hits in February. But I only know that because I've been schooled by the men who are making sure that we don't split hairs about the number of views versus the number of men, and that it's not 62 million men, it's 62 million views.
I
And oh
don't
my
care if
God,
it was
that's a big
62
difference.
men.
How do we tell views from bot views?
Right. And so that's the other complaint is, oh, these are all bots. Oh, no, the men are good. Not all men, not all men. Well, maybe not you, dude, but a lot of fucking men are raping women and raping their wives
Yeah.
and posting it
And
on the internet.
yeah, putting in the video on that website. How?
The
And,
raposphere.
and like you were saying, Pamela, it's really only in Europe that these are being. We think about the woman, was she in France?
France.
Giselle Pellicot, was it 50 men who her husband had invited them in while she was incapacitated to take advantage of her? He, at least, is being prosecuted, whereas here, we're having arguments over whether these are real views or not. So, how can we change our mindset to these horrific things and bring them back into it shouldn't be happening? I don't know how we get there or how we help our folks that we love to get to that point.
Well, I think A Lady has an excellent idea for how we should react to these types of things. And so let's talk about that. Your solution to all of the dorsal vagal collapse and the amygdala trauma that we're going through right now is revulsion.
I think honoring our natural instinct towards some of these really disgusting actions is to honor our disgust and not to tolerate what is intolerable.
Absolutely. I think for me, it manifests in the form of speaking louder and talking back to men or whoever when they gloss over these types of things and when they argue about the views and the robots versus the number of men that have actually visited that goddamn website, for example. And when the locker room talk and all of that, I'm not going to placate that anymore. And I'm going to speak up. And I think on Threads, at least, I've seen a lot of other men now that this Rape Academy thing has come out in the news and been more widespread, that people are aware of it, that there are men, there are good men that are standing up and saying, this is not right, this is bad, and they will, in theory, call out other men. I'm not going to be in the locker room when this happens, but I'd like to believe them that they are going to be speaking out when guys crack untasteful jokes and things like that. And I hope that happens. I'm a woman, so I can't be the guy to do that. But if there's any men listening to this podcast, please be that guy. Be the guy when you say not all men. Be the one good guy that's going to put down the bad guys and stigmatize it. Stigmatize the misogyny as being a bad thing, because your sisters and wives and daughters and mothers are the ones that are the victims in this. I think it's going to take all of us. So it's going to take all the women to speak up and speak out and not become numb, and to have revulsion to be our first reaction. It is the instinctual reaction. And rather than be paralyzed in fear, be bold and in your face. And then I think we have to change the Overton window back to where this thing is not acceptable anymore, even further back to where it's being prosecuted and they're being held accountable. For sure.
And I think we talked about the trauma responses of flight, fight, freeze, fawn. I would like to add one to that. Fuck them up. Like you said, I'm just going to get louder. I'm naturally very quiet people pleaser. But because of all of this, I found my voice. And it's important, like Pamela said, that men stand up for us in rooms we are not in.
And there's this unfortunate vision of maleness that is so disgusting. The fake male dude bro, like Donny, when he's pouting, they take a picture of him like, as if this projects power and strength.
You remember his mugshot 3 years ago, whatever that was? He was like so angry. It's like, dude, whatever.
No, it's like Ben Stiller and Blue Steel. These videos with heavenly lighting and soft porn colors, and isn't that being produced by somebody who's working for the other side? It's so self-own and so pathetic.
I don't even know if
really
he knows
is.
anymore which side he's on.
Well, I mean, he just presented himself as Jesus. But then the weirdest thing was he posted himself with like the devil putting blood and a cross on his forehead. So it's like, how is
Yeah.
that pandering to your evangelical base? I don't get it.
I think I heard that somebody told him that he should say that the Jesus painting was doctored and he didn't hear it right. So he thought it was a doctor.
And he said he was a doctor. I
Well,
mean, that is actually a reasonable explanation that makes more sense than
And then they
anything.
put this like Nurse Nancy in the front left corner or something. It's just
Oh my
how
God.
can they stand themselves?
Yeah, I wonder if, like, of all of them, do they, like, are they evil? Maybe not Donnie because he's such a weirdo, but are the rest of them like evil and they're excited because they're part of the evil crew now? Or are they like think that they're doing the right thing? Do they think that they're like serving America? I just don't understand. And I guess because they lack
I think
empathy and they lack all these things, that's why I don't understand them, probably.
I think Miller has serious sociopathic issues. You know,
What about
that
like Marco?
God, Rubio ought to know better. There must
Right.
be some part of
he
him,
does know better.
but does he have a brain worm that RFK Jr. sent him? It went in the ear, and now he's like, oh, Ukraine.
I think
Putin."
Rubio has to talk to himself in the mirror every day and go, okay, we're doing this. We're doing this. Like he's got to psych himself
Before
up. He's got to lift himself
Yeah,
up
this
so he can look
dude.
in the mirror.
No, but you're right. He does know better. He's been in the Senate. People have pointed out he should be the one doing the negotiations with Ukraine, not the vice president. But some folks are speculating that he's on drugs, so
He
it
might
would be
have.
the issue.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Don't sue
Allegedly.
it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think that you're absolutely right that Stephen Miller is, we heard about it in the first term from Miles Taylor about the plans that they wanted to put snakes and crocodiles in the Rio Grande or shoot people in the leg that were trying to come over the border. It's like he is a reincarnation of the Third Reich in our own time, and it's really
Well,
scary.
they're all very Third Reichy. I think that's where Elon got his empathy will kill you. Empathy equals self-harm. Who raises kids like that?
I feel sorry for all of
14
his
of them.
children. Yeah, because of Elon is why we named this podcast Empathy Avengers.
Yeah, no, I know empathy and suicidality are one in his mind. That's very, the clinical term is fucked up.
Definitely.
And he is.
He's suffering because of it. All of these people are not happy human beings. How human are they? Prove your humanity. Where are your mirror neurons? Declare them at the border or shut up.
Do you think that they feel suffering? Can they feel it?
No, I think they have mirror neuron deficiency syndrome.
I just want to pull on that thread for a minute. Somebody like Donnie, I feel like there is a way to make him miserable, and that would be to
It's
take
already
away
miserable.
fair. I want him more miserable though. Take away his limelight and take away all the sycophants. So I think once the MAGA dam is cracked right now, but once it's broken, hopefully he'll be miserable because everyone will leave him, leave his circle.
His ego, although inflated, is inherently leaky. So all the praise in the world will never be enough for him, ever.
So in essence, he's miserable every day because he's not getting enough praise. He wants more, more, more. He wants Nobel Prizes every day.
Yeah, but even if he got it, it leaks.
Yeah, then he still would want more. That's
He
interesting.
would want more and he would continue feeling empty, which is how he feels all the time, I would guess. All the time. And he's a suffering sentient being. And unfortunately, he has energized a lot of people to increase the amount of global suffering, which is not really something that we have any dearth of.
So I want to ask you about Hungary. They were under Orban for 16 years and then they voted that away, which is wonderful. So exciting and hopefully a good model for us. And hopefully it won't be 16 years. We won't have to suffer. So do you think that the people in Hungary, that maybe they had been under dorsal vagal collapse and been numb, etc. And then what is your theory of how they were able to finally wake up this time?
Maybe because they had been under censored media for as long as Orban had been in charge, and they started to relate to one another outside of that system, maybe grassroots level, to make sure that everybody gets somebody to the polls to vote, ignoring any signals coming from tin hat dictatorship, and rose that way. And I think that's what we can do and what people have been doing in response to ICE. When people started loathing it and feeling revulsion, then people started putting their bodies on the line, losing some, but letting the powers that be know, you think you will scare us and drive us off like little ants or fleas, but we are coming and we are standing here. There was a movie, Network, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. But
Yeah.
it's that kind of feeling, which is related to revulsion of, no, this is beyond it. It's intolerable. We're not taking it. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's the way I feel when I'm at the No Kings marches.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel the solidarity. But
Yeah.
to your point, it's the community, even outside of those marches, talking to your friends. I've been getting a lot of my news from Substack because I feel like those
Oh.
people are not being censored. Some of them are maybe going too far and not using journalistic integrity, but I, as a consumer, am able to figure out which ones I want to believe, or I check sources. We're not quite where Hungary was, fortunately, knock on wood, with respect to the censorship of the media. But it is true that it's hard to find the reputable mainstream media programs on network television like 60 Minutes. These other programs that we used to trust have been tainted now. So we have to be more diligent and vigilant about finding the right resources that we need and we trust.
I also think that when it comes to things like No Kings, it's better when the focus isn't just on big cities, but that it has spread widely in little places and more like that.
The only last thing, you have some really funny phrases that you've written. I just think you have a way with words.
Fresh, steaming, unstoppable, perseverative, projectile vomit-like avalanche of discursive thinking, hellish, ceaseless, automatic thinking, projected horror, catastrophizing, thinking, danger, 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 move to Canada, OMFG, what if Canada won't take us? Maybe Australia, how about Nepal, maybe England, I like England, maybe Scotland, how about Cuba or Peru, maybe Poland, maybe Malta, hey, New Zealand, there's not enough money, danger, danger, got no passport. I said we should renew them just in case. Oh my fucking God, stupid fools, stupid, why didn't I listen to me? Now we're done for, now I need to barf, F them, we're effed, I'm effed. Oh cripes, those effing SOBs, shitty, F them, we're F, Trump, no, Trump, thinking, Trump, agony, Trump, negative future projections in hopeless shades of black on black, mount up as thinkity, think thoughts, Trump, overwhelming, overpowering, unavoidable, explosively reactive, vulnerable, crush down, crush, sad, frowny face, sad, frowny face, sad, ugh, damn, sick, trumpety dumpety, tsunami of doom.
Oh, that is spot on.
Tell us how you really feel.
They say that we have to find words to express our feelings.
I posted something earlier this week about how much I miss not waking up in a terror to find what he has posted overnight. You know, we had the 4 years of Biden. Sleepy Joe. I finally got some sleep, and now we're here again. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. I think we're all exhausted, but I guess if you're listening to this podcast, you're not alone. We're with you. You're with us. We're in this together. And I do feel a little bit optimistic. I've started to see the dam cracking, as I said. I don't know exactly how this end game is going to play out, but it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But at least I don't think it's permanent. I wake up every day going, okay, we're one day closer to whatever the end looks like, right? That's my best hopium at this point. I don't have the way to speed this shit up, but I think you pointed out, a lady, in one of your writings on the No Hubris Substack, that if the first step is recognizing that this is happening to you, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you already have achieved the first step. And now, what are you going to do about it, right? Like now, I think to your point, communicating with your neighbors and your loved ones in real life and helping them to understand what's going on and being sympathetic, empathetic to them, especially if they have a more drastic and dramatic plight than you do. I think it's going to take us to take care of our neighbors. Minneapolis was amazing in how they reacted and pretty much put down ICE. And although, to your point, they lost two of their beloved warriors and so much sorrow there, but they really did it. They championed each other and they were able to stand up in the middle of winter. I don't know that I would have been out there like that. I was really inspired by them. So we can do this. Hungary also inspired me. We can do this. So that's what we always have to remember.
Yeah, and take no shit.
Yes.
Flight, freeze, or fuck 'em up.
There you go. I like it. One last thing I just want to say. I love how you, a lady, in your writing, you're taking the word Trump back to its original term as a verb, right? You say, why and how does revulsion trump dorsal vagal collapse? And I love that.
I agree with me.
I agree with you too. And revulsion is the foot of meditation, as is thought. And so would you then recommend to continue on and meditating on the future or meditating on getting out of this mess? How would you approach that?
I would learn to mind bigly. And I mean that because we aren't taught how to relate to our thoughts, and we tend to believe whatever the fuck pops up in our minds, which is a big problem. Doing some form of mindfulness practice, even if it's just a little bit, can help us work our way out of the prison that is created by thoughts that anticipate suffering or regurgitate suffering from the past or cogitate about the present and really fill our heads with useless, irrelevant detritus.
I do think that they are preying on some of the vulnerabilities that a lot of us have, things that trigger us. And if we have had trauma in our past, that is what will ultimately get us to react or act out in maybe a negative way. So weaponizing trauma is something that I think you've talked about a little bit. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, the whole psy-op weaponry is them behaving in ways that are so unacceptable and mean and disgusting and un-American and undemocratic, and then having these behaviors cascade and become seemingly unstoppable. That's what induces a reaction of feeling hopeless, helpless, permanently damaged, hyper-aroused, hypo-aroused, and ultimately less able to function. And to the extent that one is increasingly aware of one's powerlessness, it leads towards subjugation, submission, and them winning by our losing.
And apathy, which is sort of the kiss of death at that point, because you're never going to get out of that.
Well, that's the numbing and avoidance part.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
hypo-arousal.
Mm.
And they told us that during COVID. I remember the White House saying we would get used to the numbers of deaths from COVID. That was definitely a time when we were all scared and our fear, our
Yeah.
trauma of getting sick or dying alone was absolutely weaponized.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that it's only been a few years since COVID really left us, if you will, because there's still people getting sick, but for the pandemic part of it. And yet now we're back in a different kind of trauma situation. One where we don't have to wear masks, but we have to avoid people sometimes.
One of the things that I learned being in QAnon was that fear is their favorite weapon.
Yeah.
It makes us more vulnerable, easier to control. I think you're right that taking our power back is absolutely necessary.
And that the intent of this weapon is to induce a state of fear and hopelessness and disability. Knowing that the stink is intentional helps you to realize that the stink isn't actually you and it's not actually reality. It's what they are trying to hook you with. So if you learn what your bait is and then you stop taking that bait, they lose their ability to puppet you, trigger you, suppress, depress, oppress.
Yeah, I like that. I think because they win. They're trying to win when they shut us up. Yeah.
Exactly.
So don't let them do that.
So
Fuck them. Keep talking. Keep coming on our podcast. Keep telling your friends. Keep promoting your community. I think that's so important right now as we get further along in this mess. And yeah, bring people to the polls, bring people to the marches, and just keep on keeping on. Don't let the bastards bring you down.
yeah,
I would add a couple of things to what you just said, Pamela. Run for office if you're able, register new voters, and work as an election official or a poll worker.
Very good. Awesome. Definitely run for office. You should run for office. You do it, not me.
Thanks so much for joining us again for the Empathy Avengers podcast, where kindness is your superpower and empathy saves the day.
The Empathy Avengers, where we put empathy into action.